obese alien princess was given to a human janitor as punishment, but he loved her like no one. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The gleaming corridors of Diplomatic Station Helios 7 were always immaculate, thanks to the tireless efforts of Tyler Grant, a human janitor who took pride in his work despite being considered the lowest of the low in the interstellar hierarchy. Tyler pushed his cleaning cart through the west corridor of the Diplomatic Station, whistling an old Earth tune as he worked. At 32, he had spent the last 5 years cleaning up after pompous diplomats and entitled alien dignitaries. The pay was decent enough, and the job granted him a place to live on the station, a small but comfortable living pod that he had made his own. Today was different, though. The station was buzzing with activity as they prepared for the arrival of the Zeturian royal family. The Zeturians were known throughout the galaxy for their tall, willowy physiques and their obsession with physical perfection. Their society valued aesthetics above all else, and their political influence had grown considerably over the last century. They were coming to the station to negotiate a trade agreement, and everyone was on edge. "Grant, I need you at Docking Bay 3 immediately." The harsh voice of his supervisor, Meredith Hayes, crackled through his comm unit. Tyler sighed, tucking his cleaning cloth into his belt. "On my way, Ms. Hayes." When he arrived at the docking bay, he found his supervisor frantically directing staff. Her normally perfectly styled hair was coming loose from its tight bun, and there was a wild look in her eyes. "There you are," she said, grabbing his arm. "The Zeturian Royal Shuttle is arriving in 5 minutes, and Ambassador Chun has special instructions for you." Tyler raised an eyebrow, but followed her to where the human ambassador stood, looking equally tense. "Mr. Grant," Ambassador Chun said, his voice low and serious, "I have a delicate assignment for you. The Zeturian Princess Lilith will be staying on the station for the duration of the negotiations." "Okay," Tyler said, not understanding why this concerned him. "Do you need me to make sure her quarters are cleaned to a higher standard?" Ambassador Chun exchanged a glance with Meredith. "Not exactly. You see, Princess Lilith is different from most Zeturians. She has been assigned to you." "Assigned to me?" Tyler repeated, bewildered. "What does that mean?" "It means," Ambassador Chun said, choosing his words carefully, "that she will be in your care. The Zeturian king has explicitly requested that she be given to a station worker of the lowest status. As the only human janitor on board, you fit their criteria." Tyler's confusion must have shown on his face because Meredith jumped in. "The princess has fallen out of favor with the royal court. This is their way of punishing her. You are to provide her with accommodations in your quarters and ensure she's taken care of while they're here." "My quarters? But I only have 1 bedroom." Tyler protested. "Then you'll have to give it to her and sleep on your couch," Ambassador Chun said firmly. "This is a direct order, Grant. The success of these negotiations depends on our compliance with their customs, no matter how strange they seem to us." Before Tyler could argue further, the docking bay doors opened with a hydraulic hiss. The Zeturian entourage entered, and Tyler's jaw dropped. The Zeturian royals were just as the vids had portrayed them: tall, elegant beings with silvery blue skin and graceful limbs. They moved like dancers, their long robes flowing around them. But behind them, partially hidden from view, was a figure unlike any of the others. Princess Lilith was unmistakably Zeturian, with the same silvery blue skin and delicate facial features. But where her family members were thin to the point of being gaunt, she was large, significantly overweight by Zeturian standards, though to human eyes she merely appeared pleasantly plump. She kept her eyes downcast, her round cheeks flushed a deeper blue with what Tyler recognized as shame. The Zeturian king, a severe-looking being with sharp cheekbones and cold eyes, beckoned Tyler forward. "This is the servant?" he asked Ambassador Chun, not bothering to address Tyler directly. "Yes, Your Majesty. This is Tyler Grant, one of our maintenance staff," Ambassador Chun confirmed. The king looked Tyler up and down with unconcealed disgust. "He will do. Lilith, come forward." The princess stepped forward, still not meeting anyone's eyes. Up close, Tyler could see that despite her size, she moved with the same innate grace as her relatives. Her silvery hair was plaited in an intricate design, and her robes, while plainer than those of her family, were still made of fine material. "This human will be your keeper during our stay," the king announced loudly, ensuring that everyone in the docking bay could hear. "Perhaps spending time with a lesser species will help you reflect on the disgrace you have brought to our house." Tyler saw the princess flinch at her father's words, and something inside him hardened. He'd dealt with entitled aliens for years, but this public humiliation of the princess crossed a line. "Your Majesty," Tyler said, stepping forward and bowing slightly, just enough to be polite without being subservient. "I'd be honored to host Princess Lilith during your stay. I'll ensure she's treated with the respect her royal status deserves." The king's eyes narrowed at Tyler's barely concealed defiance, but Ambassador Chen quickly intervened. "Mr. Grant will show the princess to her accommodations now, if that's acceptable, Your Majesty." The king waved a dismissive hand. "Take her. We have important matters to discuss." Without another glance at his daughter, he swept away with the rest of the entourage, following Ambassador Chun toward the conference rooms. Tyler was left standing awkwardly with Princess Lilith, who still hadn't looked up. Meredith gave him a warning glance before hurrying after the diplomatic party, leaving them alone. "Princess Lilith," Tyler said gently, "I'm Tyler Grant. If you'll come with me, I'll show you to my quarters." She finally looked up, and Tyler was struck by the depth of her violet eyes, a trait all Zeturians shared, but hers seemed more vivid, perhaps because of the contrast with her rounder face. "You don't have to pretend to be kind," she said softly, her voice musical despite the bitterness in her tone. "I know what I am, and I know what this assignment means." Tyler shook his head. "I'm not pretending anything. Where I come from, treating people with respect isn't optional. Come on, I'll show you around the station on our way. It's not much, but it's home." As they walked through the corridors, Tyler pointed out different areas of the station. The hydroponics garden where they grew fresh vegetables, the recreation deck with its observation windows looking out at the stars, the marketplace where residents traded goods from across the galaxy. "This station houses 16 different species," Tyler explained as they walked. "Humans are actually in the minority here. We make up about 20% of the population." "I've never spoken to a human before," Lilith admitted. "Our education system teaches that you're a primitive species, barely out of your planetary cradle." Tyler laughed. "Well, compared to the Zeturians, I guess we are. You've been spacefaring for what, 5,000 years? We've only been at it for about 400. 372, according to our records," Lilith said, then looked embarrassed. "I enjoy historical studies." "Nothing wrong with being smart," Tyler said, smiling at her. "Here we are, home sweet home." He waved his access card over the door panel, and it slid open to reveal his living quarters. The main room served as both living room and kitchen, with a small dining table, a worn but comfortable couch, and a cooking area. A door led to the bedroom, and another to the bathroom. "It's small," he said apologetically, "but it's clean, and the environmental controls work well. The bedroom is yours, of course." Lilith looked around, taking in the space. "Where will you sleep?" "The couch pulls out into a bed," Tyler explained. "I've slept on worse." Lilith's brow furrowed. "This isn't right. I shouldn't displace you from your own bed." "It's no trouble, really," Tyler insisted. "Would you like something to eat?" "I don't have any Zeturian cuisine, but I have some universal protein packs that should be compatible with your digestive system." Lilith hesitated, then said quietly, "I'm not permitted to eat outside of designated meal times. Part of my correction program." Tyler stared at her. "You're on a restricted diet?" She nodded, not meeting his eyes again. "My family believes my condition is a result of lack of discipline. I'm allowed one nutrient packet in the morning and one in the evening." Tyler felt a surge of anger, but kept his expression neutral. "Well, you're in my quarters now, and I don't believe in restricting food. If you're hungry, you eat. That's the rule here." Lilith looked up, surprised. "But my father isn't here," Tyler finished for her. "Look, Princess, I don't know what's considered normal in your culture, but in mine, using food as punishment is considered cruel. I'm not going to force you to eat, but I'm also not going to stop you if you're hungry. For the first time, a small smile appeared on Lilith's face. Please, call me Lilith. And I am a little hungry. Tyler grinned. Then let's eat. Over the next few days, Tyler and Lilith fell into a comfortable routine. During the day, Tyler would go about his janitorial duties while Lilith accompanied him, as she wasn't welcome at the diplomatic meetings. At first, she was hesitant, clearly embarrassed to be seen with a janitor, but Tyler's easy manner and the way he treated everyone, from ambassadors to maintenance bots, with the same respect gradually put her at ease. Why do you clean manually when there are bots for that? Lilith asked one afternoon as she watched Tyler scrub a stubborn stain on the floor of the main corridor. The bots handle the basic cleaning, but some things need a human touch, Tyler explained, sitting back on his heels. Plus, I like knowing I've made a difference, even if it's just making the station a little cleaner and more pleasant for everyone. Lilith considered this. On Zetor, no one of status would ever engage in physical labor. It's considered degrading. Is that why your father thinks leaving you with me is a punishment? Tyler asked, curious. Lilith's face fell. That, and because humans are considered unattractive by Zeturian standards. Tyler laughed. Well, I can't argue with alien beauty standards. But for what it's worth, I think you're beautiful. The deep blue blush returned to Lilith's cheeks. You don't have to say that. I don't say things I don't mean, Tyler said seriously. In human culture, there's a wide range of what's considered beautiful. Some humans prefer partners with more body mass, some prefer less. It's all subjective. Really? Lilith asked, her voice small but hopeful. On Zetor, there's only one standard of beauty. The thinner, the better. I've been a disappointment since childhood. No matter what diet or exercise regime they put me on, I remained like this. Tyler's expression softened. There's nothing wrong with how you look, Lilith. Nothing at all. That evening, Tyler took Lilith to the station's marketplace. It was bustling with activity, vendors calling out their wares in various languages while station residents haggled and socialized. This is wonderful, Lilith breathed, taking in the sights, sounds, and smells. We have markets on Zetor, but they're nothing like this. Everything there is orderly, sterile. Tyler grinned. Sterile is boring. Come on, there's someone I want you to meet. He led her to a food stall run by a four-armed alien with vivid orange skin. Graz, meet my friend Lilith. Any friend of Tyler's is welcome at my stall, Graz said warmly, his translator rendering his clicking language into standard. What can I get for you? 2 specials, Tyler said. And make sure mine has extra spice. Graz nodded and began preparing their food with practiced efficiency, all 4 arms working simultaneously. What is a special? Lilith asked nervously. It's a surprise, Tyler said with a wink. But trust me, Graz makes the best food on the station. When Graz handed them their food, a kind of wrap filled with colorful vegetables and protein, Lilith hesitated only briefly before taking a bite. Her eyes widened. This is delicious, she exclaimed. I've never tasted anything like it. Tyler laughed. Zeturian royal cuisine not up to par. Royal cuisine is about presentation and tradition, not flavor, Lilith explained, taking another eager bite. This has so many different tastes all at once. They ate as they walked through the market, Tyler pointing out interesting stalls and introducing Lilith to various station residents. To his surprise, she was curious about everything, asking thoughtful questions and showing genuine interest in the different cultures represented on the station. You know, Tyler said as they made their way back to his quarters, you're nothing like what I expected a princess to be. Lilith tilted her head. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone haughty, I guess. Entitled. But you're kind and curious and... He trailed off, suddenly aware that he was staring at her. Lilith's blush deepened again. And what? And I'm really glad you were assigned to me, Tyler finished, feeling his own cheeks grow warm. When they reached his quarters, Tyler received a message on his comm unit. Huh, that's weird. What is it? Lilith asked. Ambassador Chen wants to see me. Alone. Tyler frowned. I wonder what that's about. Perhaps they want to check that you're treating me poorly enough, Lilith said, only half joking. Tyler snorted. Well, they're going to be disappointed. Will you be okay here by yourself for a bit? Lilith nodded. I'll be fine. I have the book you lent me. Tyler had been surprised to discover that Lilith was an avid reader and had introduced her to some classic human literature. She was currently engrossed in Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. I won't be long, Tyler promised, heading out the door. When he arrived at Ambassador Chin's office, he was surprised to find not only the ambassador, but also the Zeturian queen waiting for him. Mr. Grant, Ambassador Chin said formally, Her Majesty wishes to speak with you about Princess Lilith. The queen was every bit as intimidating as her husband, with sharp features and cold violet eyes. Human, she said, not bothering with pleasantries. I understand you have been taking my daughter to public areas of the station. Tyler straightened his shoulders. Yes, Your Majesty. I've been showing her around and introducing her to different aspects of station life. This was not the arrangement, the queen said, her voice like ice. She was to remain in seclusion, reflecting on her failures. Tyler fought to keep his expression neutral. With all due respect, Your Majesty, I was told to provide accommodations for the princess and ensure she was taken care of. No one specified that she should be kept isolated. The queen's eyes narrowed. You will restrict her to your quarters for the remainder of our stay. She is not to be seen in public. She is an embarrassment to the royal house. Tyler felt his temper rising, but kept his voice steady. May I ask why she's being punished? What has she done wrong? That is not your concern, human, the queen snapped. It is as if I'm expected to enforce her punishment, Tyler countered. Where I come from, we don't punish people without a reason. Ambassador Chin cleared his throat nervously. Mr. Grant, remember your position. My position is that Princess Lilith is a guest in my home, Tyler interrupted. And in my culture, we treat guests with respect and kindness. The queen rose to her full height, towering over Tyler. In that case, we will find alternative arrangements for Lilith. Someone who understands their place in the hierarchy. Your Majesty, Ambassador Chin said quickly, there are no other suitable accommodations available. The station is at full capacity with the diplomatic delegations. The queen considered this, then fixed Tyler with a cold stare. Very well. The princess will remain with you, but understand this, human. Any further defiance will have consequences not only for you, but for your entire species. These trade negotiations are too important to your kind to risk over one disobedient servant. With that, she swept out of the room, leaving Tyler seething. Ambassador Chin sighed heavily. Mr. Grant, I understand your feelings, but please try to be more diplomatic. The Zeturians could make things very difficult for Earth if these negotiations fall through. So we just let them abuse their daughter? Tyler demanded. We respect their cultural differences, Ambassador Chin corrected, even when we don't agree with them. That's what diplomacy is about. Tyler left the ambassador's office feeling frustrated and angry. When he returned to his quarters, he found Lilith waiting anxiously. What happened? She asked as soon as he walked through the door. Tyler hesitated, then decided she deserved the truth. Your mother wants me to keep you confined to these quarters. She says you're an embarrassment and shouldn't be seen in public. Lilith's face fell, but she didn't look surprised. I see. I told her I wouldn't do it, Tyler continued, pacing the small living area. I told her we don't punish people without reason where I come from. You defied the queen? Lilith gasped. Tyler, that's dangerous. My mother is not someone to cross. Tyler stopped pacing and looked at her. Lilith, why are they treating you this way? What did you do? Lilith sank onto the couch, her shoulders slumping. I existed. I continued to be a failure despite their best efforts. And then I rejected a marriage arrangement with a high-ranking official who was willing to overlook my physical shortcomings in exchange for a significant political advantage. They wanted to marry you off to someone who didn't even care about you. Tyler asked, appalled. Lilith nodded. It's common practice in royal marriages. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't spend my life with someone who saw me as nothing more than a diplomatic transaction, who would be disgusted by the sight of me, but willing to tolerate it for power. So I refused. And this is my punishment. Tyler sat beside her on the couch and, after a moment's hesitation, took her hand. Her skin was cool to the touch, but soft. I'm sorry, Lilith. That's awful. The worst part is, I've always tried so hard to please them, Lilith said, her voice breaking. I studied political theory, I learned 7 languages, I mastered all the royal protocols. I did everything right except for being born with the wrong body type. And now I've ruined everything by wanting something more than a marriage of convenience. You haven't ruined anything, Tyler said firmly. You stood up for yourself. That takes courage. Lilith looked at him, her violet eyes shimmering with unshed tears. No one has ever seen it that way before. No one has ever seen me as anything but a problem to be fixed or hidden away. Well, I see you, Tyler said, squeezing her hand. I see someone intelligent, kind, and brave. Someone who deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Even though I'm not attractive by your standards? Lilith asked hesitantly. Tyler's expression softened. Lilith, I meant what I said earlier. I think you're beautiful. And not just physically. You have a beautiful spirit too. The tears Lilith had been holding back spilled over, and Tyler gently wiped them away. Thank you, she whispered, for being kind to me. It's not kindness, Tyler said. It's just treating you the way everyone deserves to be treated. The days passed, and despite the Queen's warning, Tyler continued to take Lilith around the station during his work hours. He introduced her to the station's head chef, who was delighted to experiment with Zaturian-compatible dishes that celebrated flavor rather than minimalism. He showed her the station's small library, where she discovered a wealth of human literature that captivated her imagination. And he took her to the observation deck, where they would sit for hours, watching the stars and talking about everything from philosophy to favorite colors. Tyler found himself increasingly drawn to Lilith. It wasn't just her appearance, though he genuinely found her curvaceous form appealing. It was her quick mind, her dry wit that emerged as she became more comfortable with him, and the way her face lit up when she discovered something new. He began to look forward to the evenings they spent together in his quarters, sharing meals and stories. For her part, Lilith seemed to blossom under Tyler's attention. She held her head higher when they walked through the station, no longer trying to make herself invisible. She laughed more freely, a musical sound that Tyler couldn't get enough of. And sometimes, he would catch her looking at him when she thought he wouldn't notice, with an expression that made his heart race. One evening, as they sat on the observation deck watching a meteor shower through the reinforced glass, Lilith turned to Tyler with a serious expression. The negotiations end in 3 days, she said quietly. My family will be leaving, and they'll take me with them. Tyler felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He had been avoiding thinking about the inevitable end to their time together. I know. I don't want to go back, Lilith confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. For the first time in my life, I've felt accepted, happy. The thought of returning to Zeter, to the constant criticism and isolation. She trailed off, unable to continue. Tyler took her hand, a gesture that had become natural between them. What if you didn't go back? Lilith's eyes widened. What do you mean? You could stay here, Tyler suggested, the idea forming as he spoke. Apply for asylum. The station is a neutral territory governed by the Galactic Council. Your family couldn't force you to leave. Stay here? As what? Lilith asked, both hope and doubt in her voice. As whatever you want to be, Tyler said. You're brilliant, Lilith. You could work in the diplomatic corps, or the library, or anywhere else that interests you. You could have a life of your own choosing. My family would never allow it, Lilith said, shaking her head. They would consider it the ultimate disgrace. It's not their decision to make, Tyler insisted. You're an adult. You have the right to determine your own path. Lilith was quiet for a long moment, considering. And what about you? She finally asked, not meeting his eyes. Where would I fit in your life? Tyler's heart skipped a beat. Wherever you want to fit, he said softly. Lilith, these past weeks have been the happiest of my life. I don't want them to end. I don't want to lose you. She looked up at him then, her violet eyes searching his face. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying I've fallen in love with you, Tyler admitted, the words tumbling out. And I hope, you might feel the same way about me. Instead of answering, Lilith leaned forward and pressed her cool lips to his. Tyler froze for a second in surprise before returning the kiss, pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, Lilith was smiling, a full, radiant smile that transformed her face. I do feel the same way, she said. I never thought it was possible for someone to love me, especially not someone as kind and good as you. Tyler brushed a strand of silvery hair from her face. Then stay with me. Lilith's smile faltered. My father will never accept this. He'll do everything in his power to stop me. Then we'll fight him, Tyler said firmly. Together, they spent the rest of the evening making plans, discussing what Lilith would need to do to apply for asylum and how they would present their case to the station authorities. Tyler contacted a friend in the legal department who agreed to help them prepare the necessary documents. The next morning, Tyler woke to an urgent message on his comm unit. Ambassador Chen wanted to see him immediately. I have to go, he told Lilith, who was preparing breakfast in the small kitchen area. Ambassador Chen sounds upset. Lilith looked worried. Do you think they know about our plans? I don't see how they could, Tyler reassured her. We've only told my friend in legal, and she promised to be discreet. It's probably just another complaint from your mother. But when Tyler arrived at the ambassador's office, he found not only Ambassador Chen, but also the entire Zeturian royal family waiting for him. The king's expression was thunderous, the queen's coldly furious. And standing apart from them, looking terrified, was Lilith. What's going on? Tyler demanded, moving instinctively toward Lilith, but a security officer blocked his path. Mr. Grant, Ambassador Chen said, his voice strained, the Zeturian royal family has brought a serious accusation against you. They claim you have been inappropriate with Princess Lilith. Inappropriate? Tyler repeated, confused. What does that mean? It means, the king said, his voice like a whip crack, that you have taken advantage of your position to seduce our daughter, a vulnerable royal who was placed in your care. Tyler stared at him in disbelief. That's not what happened at all. Lilith and I. Silence, the king roared. You will address her as Princess Lilith, and you will not speak of her with such familiarity again. Tyler looked at Lilith, who seemed to be fighting back tears. Lilith, tell them the truth. The queen stepped forward. The princess has already confessed to being manipulated by you. She is young and naive, and you exploited her situation for your own gratification. That's not true, Tyler protested, looking desperately at Lilith. Tell them, please. Lilith finally met his eyes, and what he saw there broke his heart. She was terrified. I was confused, she said, her voice barely audible. I was grateful for his kindness, and I misinterpreted it. Tyler felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. You don't mean that. You can't mean that. Mr. Grant, Ambassador Chen said firmly, you are hereby relieved of your duties. You will be transferred to another station pending a full investigation. You can't do this, Tyler said, still staring at Lilith. We love each other. We were going to apply for asylum for her to stay here. The king laughed, a cruel sound. Love? A human janitor and a Zeturian princess? The very idea is absurd. You are nothing but a servant who forgot his place. Tyler ignored him, focusing solely on Lilith. Whatever they're threatening you with, we can fight it. Together. Remember what we said last night. For a moment, something flickered in Lilith's eyes. Resolve, perhaps, or courage. But then the queen placed a hand on her shoulder, and Lilith seemed to wilt under her touch. I'm sorry for the confusion, Mr. Grant, Lilith said formally, not meeting his eyes. I will be returning to Zeter with my family as planned. Tyler felt his world crumbling around him. Lilith, please. Security, escort Mr. Grant to his quarters to collect his belongings, Ambassador Chen ordered. He is to be on the next transport ship leaving the station. As the security officers moved to take his arms, Tyler made one last desperate attempt. Lilith, I love you. Don't let them do this to us. The security officers gripped Tyler's arms firmly as they marched him back to his quarters. His mind raced, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The look in Lilith's eyes, there had been more than fear there. There had been a message, a plea for him to understand something he couldn't quite grasp. When they reached his quarters, one of the officers spoke. "You have 30 minutes to pack your essentials. The transport leaves in 1 hour." Tyler nodded numbly and entered his living space. The room felt different now, emptier, colder. Lilith's book still lay open on the coffee table, a bookmark carefully placed to hold her spot. The sight of it brought a lump to his throat. He moved mechanically, pulling a duffel bag from the closet and starting to pack his clothes. What had gone wrong? Just last night, they had been planning a future together. Now, Lilith was returning to Zeter with her family, and he was being shipped off to some distant station in disgrace. As Tyler reached for his toiletry kit in the bathroom, he noticed something unusual, a small data chip resting on the edge of the sink, one that hadn't been there that morning. Frowning, he picked it up and examined it. It was a standard message chip, the kind used for secure, private communications. With trembling fingers, Tyler inserted the chip into his personal tablet. Immediately, Lilith's face appeared on the screen. She looked frightened but determined. "Tyler, if you're watching this, then things have gone exactly as I feared," her recorded image said, voice barely above a whisper. "My parents discovered our plans. They have spies everywhere on the station. This morning, while you were still asleep, my father sent guards to bring me to him. He told me that if I didn't renounce you and agree to return to Zeter, he would have you charged with a serious diplomatic offense, one that would result in your imprisonment, not just transfer." Tyler sank onto the edge of the bathtub, stunned. "I couldn't let that happen to you," Lilith continued, tears forming in her violet eyes. "So I agreed to their terms. But I want you to know that everything I said to you last night was true. I do love you, Tyler, more than I've ever loved anyone, and I'm not giving up on us." She glanced over her shoulder, as if checking that she was still alone, then leaned closer to the recorder. "My father believes he's won, but he's underestimated both of us. There's another way, but I need you to trust me and follow my instructions exactly." Tyler listened intently as Lilith outlined her plan. By the time the recording ended, his 30 minutes were nearly up, but for the first time since the confrontation in the ambassador's office, he felt a flicker of hope. When the security officers returned, Tyler was ready, duffel bag packed, expression carefully neutral. "I'm ready," he said. They escorted him to the transport bay, where a small Interstellar shuttle waited. As he boarded, Tyler caught a glimpse of Ambassador Chen watching from a distance, looking troubled. The ambassador gave him a small nod, almost apologetic, before turning away. The shuttle ride was brief, transporting Tyler not to another distant station as he'd been told, but to a larger transport vessel in orbit around the station. As he stepped aboard, a crew member approached him. "Tyler Grant?" the young woman asked. Tyler nodded, tense. "I'm Lieutenant Rivera. I've been asked to escort you to your quarters for the journey." She led him through the ship's corridors to a small but comfortable cabin. "We'll be departing in approximately 2 hours," she informed him. "The journey to Earth will take 8 days." "Earth?" Tyler repeated, surprised. "I was told I was being transferred to another station." Lieutenant Rivera frowned. "My orders are to transport you to Earth for reassignment. That's all I know." After she left, Tyler sat on the edge of the bed, considering this new information. Earth wasn't part of Lilith's plan. Had something changed? Or had she never known the true destination? He had little time to wonder. According to Lilith's instructions, he needed to act now, during the brief window before the transport vessel departed. Checking to ensure the corridor was empty, Tyler slipped out of his cabin and made his way to the shuttle bay. Lilith had been specific about the timing. The Zeturian Royal Shuttle would be making a final supply run to the transport vessel exactly 90 minutes before departure. It was their only chance. Tyler reached the shuttle bay and concealed himself behind a stack of cargo containers. Right on schedule, a sleek Zeturian shuttle docked, its iridescent hull gleaming under the bay lights. The bay crew began loading supplies, paying little attention to anything else. Tyler watched anxiously, counting the minutes. According to Lilith, she would find a way to be on this shuttle. But as the loading neared completion, there was no sign of her. Had her plan failed? Had her family discovered her intentions? Just as despair began to creep in, Tyler spotted a figure emerging from the shuttle, a Zeturian in plain service robes, head covered by a hood, helping to direct the loading process. Though the face was partially concealed, Tyler would recognize that graceful movement anywhere. Lilith. She glanced around the bay, seemingly searching for something or someone. Tyler took a chance and stepped slightly out from his hiding place, just enough to catch her eye. The moment she saw him, her posture changed subtly, straightening with resolve. Lilith approached the base supervisor, gesturing toward the cargo area where Tyler was hidden. Though he couldn't hear what was being said, the supervisor nodded and moved away, taking the other workers with him to address some issue on the other side of the bay. The moment they were out of sight, Lilith rushed to Tyler. "We have 3 minutes," she whispered urgently. "Follow me." She led him to the shuttle, checking quickly for observers before ushering him inside. "Hide in the rear compartment," she instructed. "Don't make a sound until I come for you." Tyler squeezed her hand. "Lilith, are you sure about this? If we're caught." "We won't be," she said with a confidence that surprised him. "I've studied the diplomatic protocols all my life, remember? I know exactly how this works. Now go quickly." Tyler did as she asked, concealing himself in the small storage compartment at the rear of the shuttle. Minutes later, he heard voices as the shuttle crew returned, followed by the hum of engines as they prepared for departure. The journey back to the station was the longest 20 minutes of Tyler's life, cramped in the dark compartment, heart pounding with every small sound. Finally, he felt the slight bump of the shuttle docking, followed by the sound of the crew disembarking. When Lilith opened the compartment door, Tyler emerged stiffly, rubbing his cramped muscles. "What now?" he whispered. "Now we claim asylum," Lilith said, determination evident in her voice. "But we need to reach Station Director Owens before my father realizes I'm missing. She's the only one with the authority to override my father's diplomatic status." "How do we get there without being seen?" Tyler asked, glancing nervously at the shuttle bay doors. Lilith smiled, and for the first time, Tyler saw something mischievous in her expression. "Service corridors. The Zeturians would never use them, so they won't think to look for us there. And you, my love, know them better than anyone." Tyler couldn't help but grin. All those years of janitorial work were finally proving useful for something more than keeping floors clean. "This way," he said, leading her to a maintenance hatch near the docking clamps. They navigated the narrow service tunnels, Tyler leading with confidence through the labyrinthine passages that ran like veins throughout the station. Twice they had to hide as maintenance bots passed by, and once they narrowly avoided a repair crew. But Tyler's knowledge of the service schedules and patrol patterns served them well. After what felt like hours, but was likely only 40 minutes, they reached the administrative section of the station. The director's office was just beyond the service exit. "Wait," Lilith said, catching Tyler's arm before he could open the hatch. "What if she turns us away? What if diplomatic protocol overrides our asylum request?" Tyler took her hands in his. "Then we'll find another way. Together. I'm not giving up on us, Lilith. Not now, not ever." She took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay, let's do this." They emerged from the service corridor into the plush hallway of the administrative wing. The director's assistant looked up in shock as they approached the desk, clearly recognizing both of them despite Lilith's plain attire. "We need to see Director Owens immediately," Tyler said, trying to project a confidence he didn't entirely feel. "It's a matter of urgent diplomatic importance." The assistant hesitated, eyes darting between them. "The director is in a meeting, but—" "Please," Lilith said, stepping forward. "My life depends on it. Tell her Princess Lilith of Zeter is requesting emergency asylum." Those magic words did the trick. The assistant's eyes widened, and she immediately activated the intercom. "Director, I have Princess Lilith and Mr. Grant here requesting an emergency meeting regarding asylum." There was a brief pause before a firm female voice responded. "Send them in immediately." Director Owens was a tall, imposing woman with steel-gray hair and piercing blue eyes. She rose from behind her desk as they entered, her expression a careful mask of professional neutrality. "Princess Lilith, Mr. Grant, she greeted them. "I understand you wish to discuss asylum. Please, sit down and explain the situation." For the next 20 minutes, they took turns detailing everything that had happened. The arranged marriage Lilith had refused, her family's punishment, their growing relationship, and the threats made against Tyler when their plans were discovered. "I understand your position," Director Owens said when they finished. "But you must understand mine as well. Your father is not just a king, but the head of the Zeturian delegation. Granting you asylum against his wishes could jeopardize not only the trade negotiations, but Earth's entire relationship with the Zeturian Empire." "With respect, Director," Tyler said, leaning forward, "isn't the protection of individuals from persecution exactly what asylum is for, regardless of the political consequences?" Director Owens regarded him thoughtfully. "In principle, yes. But in practice, these situations are rarely so clear-cut. What if I could prove that my father has violated Galactic Council laws?" Lilith said suddenly. Both Tyler and Director Owens looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean?" the director asked. Lilith took a deep breath. "My father's treatment of me violates Section 47 of the Galactic Charter of Sentient Rights. Specifically, the provisions against cruel and unusual punishment and forced marriage. I've been documenting everything for years." She pulled a data chip from her pocket, different from the one she'd left for Tyler. "It's all here. The restricted diet regimens, the public humiliations, the attempts to force me into marriage against my will." Director Owens accepted the chip, examining it carefully before inserting it into her computer. As she scanned through the contents, her expression grew increasingly grave. "This is extensive," she said finally. "And if verified, it would indeed constitute grounds for asylum." "It can be verified," Lilith assured her. "There are timestamps, location data, witness statements. I've been very thorough." The director nodded slowly. "I see that. Princess Lilith, I'm going to place you under temporary protected status while my legal team reviews this evidence. For now, you'll be assigned secure quarters here in the administrative section." Relief washed over Lilith's face. "Thank you, Director. As for you, Mr. Grant," Director Owens continued, turning to Tyler, "your situation is complicated by the accusations made against you." "Those accusations are false," Tyler said firmly. "They were manufactured to separate us." "I believe you," the director said, surprising him. "But we still need to follow protocol. You'll be confined to quarters as well, separately from the princess, until this matter is resolved." It wasn't ideal, but it was better than being shipped off to Earth. Tyler nodded his acceptance. "One more thing," Director Owens added, her expression softening slightly. "For what it's worth, I think you two have shown remarkable courage. Not many would stand up to a galactic power for love." As they were led to their separate quarters, Tyler managed to catch Lilith's eye one last time. The look they shared was one of hope, cautious, but real. The next 3 days were among the most tense of Tyler's life. Confined to a small but comfortable room in the administrative wing, he had little to do but wait and worry. He was permitted brief communications with Lilith via monitored video calls, enough to confirm she was safe, but not enough to truly ease his mind. On the morning of the 4th day, Tyler was awakened by the chime of his door. Director Owens stood outside, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Grant," she said, "your presence is requested in conference room A. The Zeturian king has demanded a formal hearing regarding his daughter's asylum request and the accusations against you." Tyler's stomach clenched, but he nodded. "I'll be ready in 5 minutes." When he entered the conference room, he found it arranged like a courtroom. On one side sat the entire Zeturian royal family, their faces cold and hostile. On the other, Lilith sat alone, back straight, head held high despite the palpable tension. Director Owens presided from the head of the table, with Ambassador Chun and several other station officials seated nearby. "This hearing will now come to order," Director Owens announced as Tyler took his seat beside Lilith. "We are here to address 2 interconnected matters: Princess Lilith's request for asylum and the accusations of impropriety against Tyler Grant. As this is not a formal court, but rather a diplomatic proceeding, I ask that all parties remain civil." The Zeturian king rose, his tall frame imposing. I object to this entire proceeding. My daughter is a royal subject of Zeter, not subject to station jurisdiction. Her place is with her family, returning to our homeworld. With respect, Your Majesty, Director Owens replied calmly. Once an asylum request has been filed, station protocol requires a full hearing regardless of the individual's status. Princess Lilith has provided substantial evidence of treatment that violates the Galactic Charter of Sentient Rights, to which Zeter is a signatory. Fabrications and exaggerations, the Queen dismissed with a wave of her hand. Lilith has always had a flair for drama. The evidence speaks for itself, Director Owens said, gesturing to the large screen where portions of Lilith's documentation were displayed. Our legal team has verified the authenticity of these records. They show a clear pattern of psychological abuse, food restriction as punishment, and attempts to coerce the princess into an unwanted marriage. The king's face darkened. We were correcting behavioral issues, not abusing our daughter. And as for the marriage, royal unions have always been arranged for the good of the empire. This is our cultural practice, which you have no right to judge. Cultural practices end where universal rights begin, Director Owens countered. The Galactic Charter is clear on this point, and Zeter's signature on that charter indicates your agreement with its principles. For the next hour, the debate continued, growing increasingly heated. The Zeturian royals defended their actions as necessary and appropriate, while Director Owens methodically dismantled their arguments with references to galactic law and the evidence provided by Lilith. Throughout it all, Lilith remained composed, speaking clearly and confidently when addressed. Tyler marveled at her transformation. Gone was the timid, apologetic princess he had first met. In her place was a woman who knew her worth and was fighting for her future. Finally, the king changed tactics. Even if one were to accept this asylum nonsense, he said with a dismissive gesture, there is still the matter of this human's inappropriate behavior toward my daughter. He has taken advantage of her vulnerability, manipulated her emotions, and filled her head with impractical fantasies. Tyler opened his mouth to protest, but Director Owens held up a hand, silencing him. Those are serious accusations, Your Majesty. What evidence do you have to support them? The king seemed taken aback by the question. Evidence. It is obvious. A royal princess and a janitor? The very notion is absurd. He clearly has ulterior motives. Love is not an ulterior motive, Lilith said, her voice ringing clear in the suddenly quiet room. And while you may find it inconceivable that anyone could love me as I am, Tyler has proven otherwise. He saw value in me when my own family saw only failure. He treated me with respect and kindness when you offered only criticism and shame. Yes, I love him. And yes, I choose him over returning to a life of misery on Zeter. A murmur ran through the officials at the table. The king's face contorted with rage. You would choose a human servant over your royal heritage? You would bring such disgrace upon our house. The only disgrace, Lilith replied evenly, is how you have treated your own daughter. A true parent would want their child's happiness above all else. The queen rose now, her voice cold. If you make this choice, Lilith, there will be no going back. You will be disowned, cut off from your family and your birthright forever. Lilith didn't flinch. I understand, and I accept those terms. Director Owens cleared her throat. Before we proceed further, I would like to address the accusations against Mr. Grant. Your Majesty, in the absence of any substantive evidence of wrongdoing, and in light of Princess Lilith's testimony, I am dismissing all charges against him. He will be reinstated to his position on the station, effective immediately. Relief washed over Tyler, but it was short-lived as the king's next words filled the room. This is outrageous. I will not stand for this insult. If you grant this asylum, if you allow this union to proceed, there will be severe diplomatic consequences. The trade agreement will be void, and Zeter will reconsider its entire relationship with Earth and this station. A tense silence fell over the room. Tyler's heart sank. How could their love possibly stand against such high stakes? The fate of interstellar relations between Earth and a major galactic power, balanced against the happiness of two individuals? It seemed impossible. Then, to everyone's surprise, Ambassador Chen spoke up. "Your Majesty, if I may." He stood, straightening his formal attire. "I have served as Earth's diplomatic representative for over 20 years, and in that time, I have learned that the foundation of any lasting relationship, be it personal or between worlds, must be mutual respect and adherence to shared principles." The ambassador walked slowly to the center of the room. The Galactic Charter exists precisely to ensure that all sentient beings, regardless of their species or status, are treated with basic dignity and afforded certain fundamental rights. If we compromise on these principles for economic advantage, what does that say about us as a civilization? The king's expression darkened further. "You would jeopardize a trade agreement worth billions over one disobedient princess?" "No," Ambassador Chen replied calmly. "I would uphold the principles that make such agreements meaningful in the first place. Your Majesty, I respectfully suggest that there is a way forward that need not result in diplomatic crisis. Princess Lilith has made her choice, and while you may not agree with it, you could choose to respect it. The trade agreement can still proceed, beneficial to both our worlds, separate from this personal matter." The king seemed about to deliver another angry retort when the queen placed a restraining hand on his arm. They exchanged a long look, some silent communication passing between them. Finally, the queen addressed the room. "Perhaps there is wisdom in what the ambassador suggests. A compromise might be reached." She turned to Lilith. "If you are determined on this course, then so be it. You will be formally released from your royal obligations and status. You will no longer be Princess Lilith of Zeter, but simply Lilith, a private citizen. In return, this matter will remain private, not to be discussed outside this room. The trade negotiations will proceed as planned." Director Owens looked to Lilith. "Is this acceptable to you?" Lilith glanced at Tyler, who nodded encouragingly. "Yes," she said firmly. "I accept these terms." "And you, Your Majesties?" Director Owens asked. The king's jaw worked as he struggled with his pride, but eventually he gave a curt nod. "We accept, but I want it noted that we do so under protest and only for the greater good of Zeter." "So noted," Director Owens said, relief evident in her voice. "Then I believe we have reached a resolution. Princess, forgive me, Ms. Lilith's request for asylum is granted. She will be granted resident status on this station and may pursue citizenship through the normal channels if she wishes. Mr. Grant is fully exonerated and restored to his position, and the trade negotiations will continue as scheduled, with no reference to these personal matters." The Zeturian royals left without another word to their daughter, their rigid posture and cold expressions making their disapproval clear. But as the door closed behind them, Lilith's shoulders relaxed, and she turned to Tyler with shining eyes. "It's over," she whispered. "We did it." Tyler pulled her into his arms, not caring who was watching. "You did it," he corrected her. "You stood up to them. You were amazing." Ambassador Chen approached them, a small smile playing on his lips. "I owe you both an apology. I was so focused on the diplomatic implications that I failed to see the human element of this situation." "Thank you for speaking up," Tyler said sincerely. "I know that couldn't have been easy." The ambassador nodded. "Sometimes, the right path is not the easy one. I wish you both every happiness." In the days that followed, Tyler and Lilith settled into a new routine. Tyler returned to his janitorial duties, though rumor had it that Director Owens was considering him for a promotion to facilities manager based on his demonstrated leadership and integrity. Lilith, meanwhile, had been offered a position in the station's library, cataloging and translating rare texts from across the galaxy. They moved into new quarters together, slightly larger than Tyler's original living space, but still modest by station standards. Neither of them minded. After what they'd been through, simply being together was luxury enough. One evening, as they sat on their small couch, Lilith reading while Tyler sketched, a hobby he'd recently taken up, she looked up suddenly. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Standing up to my family, risking your career, all of it?" Tyler set down his sketchpad. Not for a second. Why? Do you? Lilith shook her head, her silver hair catching the light. No, but sometimes I wonder if I was selfish, choosing my happiness over my responsibilities to my people. There's nothing selfish about refusing to be mistreated, Tyler said firmly. And as for your responsibilities, who says you can't still make a difference? You're brilliant, Lilith. You understand cultures and languages in a way few people do. That knowledge doesn't disappear just because you're not a princess anymore. She considered this, a slow smile spreading across her face. You're right. In fact, I've been thinking about applying for a position with the diplomatic corps, not as a royal representative, but as a cultural liaison, someone who can help different species understand each other better. I think you'd be perfect for that, Tyler said, taking her hand. It might mean travel sometimes, Lilith warned. Would you be okay with that? Tyler grinned. Are you kidding? I've spent 5 years cleaning the same corridors. I'd love to see more of the galaxy, especially with you. Lilith leaned over and kissed him softly. How did I get so lucky to find someone who loves me for exactly who I am? I'm the lucky one, Tyler insisted. And for the record, I don't just love you for who you are. I love you for who you've helped me become. Someone who stands up for what's right, no matter the cost. 6 months later, their lives had transformed in ways neither could have imagined. Lilith had indeed joined the diplomatic corps as a cultural liaison and was quickly gaining a reputation for her skill at navigating complex intercultural negotiations. Tyler had accepted the promotion to facilities manager and was using his new position to improve working conditions for the station's service staff. They had also become something of a symbol on the station, a living example of how love could transcend not just cultural differences, but the very boundaries of species. Other interspecies couples, who had previously kept their relationships private, began to come forward, inspired by their story. On the anniversary of their first meeting, Tyler took Lilith to the observation deck, to the same spot where they had first confessed their feelings for each other. The stars spread out before them, infinite possibilities in the darkness of space. I have something for you, Tyler said, suddenly nervous. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Lilith's eyes widened. Tyler, is that? He opened the box to reveal a ring, the band a mixture of earth silver and Zeturian azure metal, with a small violet stone that matched her eyes perfectly. I know we come from different worlds, with different customs. I'm not sure if marriage means the same thing to Zeturians as it does to humans. But to me, it means promising to love someone, to stand by them, to build a life together. And that's what I want with you, Lilith. For as long as we both live. Tears sparkled in Lilith's eyes as she took the ring, slipping it onto her finger. Yes, she said simply. Yes to all of it. As they embraced, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, witnessing a love that had defied not just royal decrees and cultural differences, but the very odds of the universe itself. A human janitor and an alien princess, finding in each other the acceptance and love they had both been searching for all their lives. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.